Go.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Glens Common Council meeting for Tuesday, September 8th. I'd like to start the meeting by having a pledge of allegiance and this reading allegiance to the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce two of our guests that are here this evening. We have Judy Colangero and Pat Tadish, and I'm going to ask them to come up here, and I'm going to give you a little bit of input on what's been going on here. As you know, with the passing of Ed Bartholomew, we have been under the gun here to try to move some of the community development stuff and also the different kinds of things that Ed had going, which are the brownfield awards. We've had obviously our DRI. We've had a bunch of different things that we're trying to sort out and bring together. So Judy Colangero, who is a member of our IDA, she's actually the chairman of our IDA, and Pat Tadish, who has worked for many years at Warren County as a planner at Warren County. They have come forward and donated some time to help us to try to sort through all the files. Judy is also a member of the Warren County EDC. Pat's background, she's been involved at Warren County for many years, and they're very familiar with all the different agencies that we have to go through. That Ed had a great rapport with. He knew, who to call and what to do, and then all of a sudden Ed was gone, so we're looking for some help. So these two have been graciously come forward and said that they would be glad to help us. So one of the things that is on the agenda tonight is the number 5, which is the resolution adopting the local program guidelines. And I think I mentioned to you before with our CDBG money that we were trying to start a small loan program. Actually, it was probably a forgivable loan. And we were trying to get the guidelines together, which is in your packet for those guidelines. And we will be talking about those and probably approving those at the LDC meeting, which will take place on Thursday. So, I welcome these two ladies here, and I'll give the floor to them, and they can explain a little bit about if you want to talk about anything, but obviously it's the CDBG loan program.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you all for having us. Don't want to take up too much of your time, but we did want to introduce this to you, make sure that you had a chance to take a look at it. I think, as you know, the city of Glens Falls is an entitlement community under the Community Development Block Grant Program, and through that you're receiving these additional funds as part of the recovery for the pandemic from the federal government through the Federal Housing and Urban Development Agency. And so one of the, the loss of Ed's been difficult for all of us, and we're working hard to recover from that and to carry on his work. This is one of the things that he had been working on. The city has engaged CT Mal and Jim Thatcher and Jackie Squader for several years now to help administer that program, and Pat and I work closely with them and the mayor over the last week or so to put together these program guidelines. You already had an application process with applications, people that have applied, and the mayor made it one of his highest priorities to be able to respond to those persons. And so we had to really finalize the program guidelines and get your consent in order to be able to move forward and to be able to make those loans. I think we have 7 or 8 loans that have been, and you're going to have, even if you spent, even if you awarded to all of those 8, you're going to have additional funds to go forward. So there's not only just making the decisions on those loans and hopefully administering those, but also kind of promoting or advertising this so that other businesses in the community know about it and can access that. And go ahead.
I wanted to say that I've been an employee of the county for almost 4 years now. I retired and then I came back to work part-time, and a large portion of my career was spent utilizing community development, block grant funds, HUD funds, and we created a very successful microenterprise loan program that we had a number of businesses take advantage of both. There's a few in the city and a number of places in what we call the North Country. And I will tell you that the program guidelines are very consistent with the guidelines that we used in our microenterprise loan program, and those were approved by the Department of Housing and they were approved by HUD as well as DHCR. So I want to give you the assurance that, you know, we just didn't pull out these guidelines out of thin air, that they're really based on a program that was functioning, and it kind of met the test of all the issues we had. So I just want to bring that to your attention.
Great.
So the process will be, if you approve this, you're putting the day-to-day administration of this in the hands of the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation, and we are engaging with CT Mail and Jim Thatcher to help us to administer that. That committee will meet on Thursday, and they will set up a project review committee that will implement these guidelines. I believe Pat's going to be a member of that project review committee and some others, and we'll get that list to you after our meeting on Thursday. Those individuals will meet as needed on a regular basis to go over those applications and make decisions. If they have any difficulty making any decisions, it would come back to the full board of the Glens Falls Local Development Corporation to review any of those, let's call them conflicts or questions. And I think that through this process, and particularly as it relates to loan repayment, these are funds, they're not grants, it is a loan, but it's to help businesses. And so we've tried to make this as simple as possible for both the businesses in this community to understand and interpret and to be eligible for, and to help them run their businesses and be successful. And if the monies don't ever come back, I think that's fine, as long as they used it for proper purposes to stay active and alive here in the city. So it's for businesses that are located here and to help them to recover from this pandemic. I'm happy to take any questions.
Have to be within the city limits?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And from moving forward, if we approve this, the LDC will manage it, the loan, and then manage the payment plans and pull it back through that, it'll come back through the LDC?
That's correct. And we meet monthly, and so there'd be a monthly report that would be available through our minutes. You have a few members on that board, so they'd also be able to report back to you, but going forward, I think Jim would also be available to come in anytime and to talk about that. But you have a record of what those decisions were.
Yeah, one thing I did not know, I meant to look this up before this afternoon, is whether or not the repayment funds could go in, whether they have to go into non-interest bearing account. I do not know, I don't know the answer to that, so that's gotta be,
We'll find out.
I gotta find that out yet, so.
And my guess is, knowing HUD a little bit, that we might have to set up a separate bank account, so
Yeah.
one more bank account. But my guess is it would probably be kept separate for that purpose.
And will the money that, as you said, you had 8 applications, and that's not quite the total amount that was allocated to us, so that money will stay where, in the LDC budget, or in the city's?
Community development.
It's technically in the
Community
community development fund.
For future uses, or do we lose it if we don't loan it out?
There is a deadline that the federal government has put on this for 2 years, September 30, 2022. Who knows what will happen then. And the way they've pitched this so far is it's an approximate date of conclusion. I don't think that they anticipate that these monies will come back. They really want us we've encouraged the cities, in Glens Falls isn't the only city to get this money. We're encouraged to use it and spend it to help businesses, and they've kind of said themselves, if it doesn't come back, you know, if the loan repayment is not required, then so be it. That's, the intention is to get the money out
I'm gonna make a educated guess here, that those monies are gonna stay local, for use for other similar community development projects, because none of our micro enterprise monies, you know, the county's LDC was a repository for those, and then, you know, Ed managed that program on behalf of the LDC, but those funds stay local. They're not like subject to the clawback provisions that other state resources are, so.
And it's front funded, the whole block is funded
Yes.
before, seriously?
You're not gonna have to front the money, I'm
No,
unless-
No, right, but the whole thing is coming at once, so or is it coming in?
Well, it's, as you draw it down, you know, you're gonna have.
Right.
But as you draw it down, right.
I think you would draw it down based on the activity of the loans that are pending that are, so, we did ask Jim Thatcher to participate in a training program with HUD, which was, I think, a week ago. And so,
Yeah, good.
I'll have to double check with him on that, but I think you draw down based on what you're,
Yeah.
yeah.
The original information that was sent out by Ed about this program, if I remember, it's really kind of small loans, right? Like 15,000 or less?
7,500.
Up to 7,500.
7,500 or less.
Yeah,
And so later in the period, you'd said about a 2-year window, so if somebody was to loan or borrow the 7,500, could we then, if there was money left over later, like next year, could that same entity borrow another 7,500? Because I think that people aren't realizing, is this gonna last a lot longer than we originally thought?
I think that the levels were self-created, you know, the small loans, so I don't know, I mean, I think Ed kind of set those thinking that was, how can we get this out in a meaningful amount, but.
Right.
To as many people as possible.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I think
neat
it's
thing,
to spread it.
because I know as a small business myself, that you know, a lot of the bigger money was gone before you could even apply for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's great, but I could see somebody
Right,
needing it in February, not thinking that they needed to get through the fall and the winter,
right,
and not realizing that
yeah,
we may not be back to normal, so at least it'll be there, and that's something that,
that's right.
would that mean that you could consider that within this?
I think that,
Yeah.
I think there's some consideration.
I think we'd have to go back and amend this, and so we'd have to come back to you
So,
to amend
Yeah.
the guidelines, and at that time, we probably want to send it to HUD in advance and make sure they're okay with it. But I think that so much of this stuff is evolving because of what you just said, that we don't know really.
Right. Okay.
And so I think you, come whatever, February, if we find that to be the case, we make our case, we go back to them, make sure they're okay with it, come back here, amend this, and then move forward.
Yeah,
And we're not likely to be the only community who has that an interest in doing that,
Right.
you're right.
And is this open to independent contractors as well, or do they have to be an employer, a business with employers?
Well, it has to be somebody who has a business,
Right.
and they have to have they have to be able to demonstrate that their business location is here.
Right, but if they were a small one-person, small business and they don't employ people, can they apply?
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Like a DBA, but that DBA's
Yeah.
gotta have an address that's in the city of Glens Falls.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
You've got to be able to back that up by a tax return or other documents,
Right.
and you need to show that that's your address.
correct.
Location is key here, and
And we're following up with them after we've given the monies out to make sure they're actually utilizing the funds for
yes,
what
and
they
all the
said.
more reason to keep it local, a lot easier for us to do that than
Great.
the mayor will be walking by their business out
You
there.
bet.
At least once a week.
Right. Show me the money.
Great.
Great.
Well, I think it's a good program. Obviously, you know, we had talked about, we got the 288,000, and we gave out to some of the non-for-profits that we already approved all that, like to the Salvation Army and a few other nonprofits, Way House and a few others. So this was another aspect or another part of that whole 288,000. So appreciate, the help from you two to, get this going. It's taken a little bit longer than we anticipated, but obviously we've had some, some curves thrown at us. But we appreciate you guys, not just this, but everything that you're doing to help the city get
Sure.
back and try to recover from, the tragedy that we've had.
Yes. Mayor, I brought Sarah Frankenfeld, who runs the census program for the county.
Yep.
Asked me if she knew I was coming here, so I brought some hand sanitizer down, so please
Great.
help
We
yourself.
appreciate it. We can always use
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much
you.
for coming.
all right,
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for your help, appreciate it.
You're welcome. See ya. See ya, yeah.
Okay, so we'll go to our regular agenda. Under voice vote, resolution approving the August 2020 monthly report of the city clerk and the parking violations bureau.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Under roll call vote, is there any of the resolutions you'd like to pull for discussion? Number 2 is a resolution approving the outside dining permit for Gourmet Cafe, 185 Glen Street, for placement of chairs and tables in front of the business location for the period from current date to May 31st, 2021, with mandated social distancing measures in place. 3 is a resolution approving an encroachment permit for Romeo Motors LLC DBA Romeo Toyota Glens Falls, 169 Broad Street, tax map number 309.7-12-20 for planning board favorable advisory opinion for a 20-foot curb cut onto Robinson Street side of the parcel to allow direct access for customers to drive into the service check-in area located on the Robinson Street side of the property. 4 is a resolution awarding the firehouse boiler specifications to Round Lake Forge LLC in an amount of not to exceed $5,000. 5 is the resolution adopting local program guidelines for implementation of the Small Business Recovery Fund using an allocation of CDBG-CD funding awarded to the City of Glens Falls from HUD as enacted under the Federal CARES Act to support small business relief efforts in response to COVID-19 pandemic, and authorizing the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation to oversee the implementation of the Small Business Recovery Fund in partnership with the city's Office of Community Development and accordance with HUD guidelines. 6 is a resolution adopting Families and Medical Leave Act, leave expansion and emergency paid sick leave, police, coronavirus for the city of Glens Falls. 7, a resolution approving community development annual payments of $15,944.42. And 8 is a resolution approving the warrant.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilwoman Reed,
Yes.
Councilman Campanella,
Yes.
Councilman Collins,
Yes.
Councilwoman Palmer,
Yes.
Councilman Emery,
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Okay, great. Old business, Mr. Enderby.
I don't have any old business.
Mr. Collins,
I have none.
Mr. Clark.
Dave left, but I wanted to personally thank Judy and Pat for stepping up and helping the city out, and we can ask for 2 better people that have tremendous amount of experience between the both of them to step into some pretty big shoes, and they're going to fill them well for us, and I know we're in good hands with them, and I have all the trust in what they're capable of doing for us, and I just think it's a great thing, so thanks, Mayor.
You bet. Ms. Reed.
I have none.
And Mr. Campanella.
I have none.
Ms. Palmer.
I've received a few calls from constituents about signs that are out, and I just wanted to mention that, you're supposed to put them on your own yard, right? Not in between the sidewalk and the street. That's city property, and I have had several calls and complaints about that, so just be mindful that if you're gonna put a sign out, put it in your yard, not on the public property.
I've also noticed some near Crandall Park,
Yeah,
and I was like,
That's a
why
big
is this
complaint.
becoming a thing?
I was called about that today
Yeah.
too, yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
New business, Mr. Enderby.
I just wanted to say, I think I saw the work being done, I don't know if they were excavating or whatever, dirt is moving around over at,
our DRI project, so I think that's some sort of progress, so we're.
So what's happening there is those two buildings that are going to stay, the incubator and Hot Shots or Kylie Drum building, the foundations on those, where there was a wall where the old juicy jar was, that when they separated that, we knew that there was gonna have to, solidify or shore up those walls there. So they're actually in there pouring footers and they're trying to solidify, make sure that those buildings are in good shape. So that's what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
Absolutely.
So, we're moving.
Absolutely. Mr. Collins?
Well, again, I don't know if this is kind of old, new business or new, old business, so, it is new that I sent you all an email, that the Sustainability Committee has decided to not pursue the CCA at this time. Wanted to make sure, give you a chance if you had any questions, but just the volatility and the prices, we couldn't guarantee that the city residents would save a lot. The goal was to hopefully give a chance for residents to both save money and for us to lock in green energy for our residents for an extended period of time. But the prices are so, in general, electric prices are low right now, and also green energy, is being highly sought, and so the price has gone up. And so because we don't have any clear savings to offer residents, that we're just gonna hold off and see what happens 6 months down the road. Wanted you all to know that. We worked real hard for a long time at it, and it just wasn't worth it. So glad we did the work, and it's not completely out. If they can come back with a better price, then we will present it to you for our future considerations.
Well, I appreciate you guys making the call on that, because I know you put a lot of work into it, and when you put that much work in, you want it to succeed, and unfortunately, you guys made the right call, but, and I hope that you continue on, with things like that, because the Sustainability Committee, has really got a lot of things going, and it's, and that's a good committee that we really appreciate the leadership on, and the people that are involved, so, it was the right call.
Thanks so much. And
So,
also,
Bill,
go ahead, Jimmy. Yes.
how much of this has been the prices related to the COVID?
Well, it's not really clear whether it was COVID and it seems like it might be, but the truth is that it's just, there's no way of really knowing. It clearly is not a great time to buy green energy. That I can tell you, that energy is cost almost, the credits that come with it their prices have increased in the last 6 months, almost double or over double, almost triple. So they certainly think that COVID had something to do with it. Also, we believe that because of COVID, they haven't been able to build any new facilities, or they're on hold, and so therefore the green energy that's out there is more demand.
So how much of that is related to our area? I mean, is this nationwide, or is this a regional thing, a northeastern thing?
I don't really know. No, they when we ask, it's very difficult because there's many factors, and it's tough to get they also want to sell us this package, and so they're trying their best to come up with packages, but none of them are clearly worth it, and we're just holding off. But there is no clear understanding. They mentioned several things, Jimmy, like COVID, like the region, like the lack of new development of green energy facilities, and the list goes on and on. Yep. And so one more thing, we do have some test lights going in for our new LED street light project into the same parking lot that we've got the work going on behind Scotty's.
Bring it on.
We should soon be able to show you and talk about those. We're meeting with Wendell, and I think you may have gotten, or at least I know the mayor got they're finalizing that contract that we're buying this many lights of this kind now. We're trying to make sure that a few additional lights that we wanted throughout the city are in that contract, and that all is happening right away. So probably by the next city council meeting, we're hoping to be able to say, go and take a look at these lights. here's an example of what they'll look like. But also you should know that we're gonna have control over the intensity of those lights. So if somebody there's been a light out in front of your house, Jane, for 5 years, and you love that fact, and now we replace it with a brand new LED light and it's shining in your window, we have an ability to turn that particular light down. And we can help keep our community respond to the needs of people, and make sure that, and plus we're gonna save money, plus National Grid is looking at taking people off of the, what do they call it, demand? Help me with the language. There's a way, right now, we just pay for electric based on how many lights we have in the city, and the number of lights, National Grid had figured, and it wasn't necessarily accurate. That's all changing, and they're starting to look at creating an ability to actually charge us for what we use, and when that happens, we're gonna save even more money than we thought we were. So, that's all coming down the pipe for us.
Okay.
Good.
That's it, sorry, sir, yes.
Mr.
That's it.
Clerk?
Well, I would be remiss to not bring this up, but I want to wish my colleague from the 3rd Ward a happy belated birthday. It's just her birthday,
Happy
so
birthday.
happy birthday. And I wouldn't really bring it under old business. I only do that when it's Jim's birthday. But I did want to wish you a happy
Very good.
Oh, thanks, and we share the day with your anniversary, it sounds
Yeah,
like. So,
yeah,
happy
so that's
anniversary.
awesome.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
Ms. Reed?
It's hard to follow him, is all I have to say. I'm gonna sit somewhere else next time.
Okay. That's good.
I know where he lives.
Mr. Campanella?
I want to thank the mayor for the recent paving in East End. It's looking quite nice, and I'm sure the residents appreciate it.
You bet.
And there was some work done on the technical park, some filling in down there, which I got same person, you know, and he doesn't even live in the city, you know, he's complaining about the potholes. And I said, you know, it's on the list, you know, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
So we get the potholes fixed, you know, down there. He says, well, what about the trees that are hanging over? I said, you're on the list.
One thing at a
Good
time.
answer.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Ms. Palmer?
Just want to wish all of the educators, administrators, staff, and students a good beginning to the school year. I know so much work went into trying to figure out how to manage this very unprecedented situation. So just feel, I guess, grateful to them for all the work and wish for the best for all of our students and teachers.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I just have a couple of things, and I briefly touched on it when Pat and Judy were here, but we've put together, I'm calling it a work group, and we meet once a week. And Jane Reed is in on that group along with Pat, Judy, we have Jim Thatcher, and we also have Suzanne Kasich. And one of the things that we found that was that we needed to do was to have Suzanne Kasich, controller, more involved in all of the projects. So, you know, she's pretty excited actually to be into it because she knows what's going on. Because, you know, I loved Ed, but Ed kept everything a little bit close to times, and so now, you know, anything we're doing, Suzanne will know, and she can ask questions. So we'll meet every Tuesday morning, and hopefully we can get all the information that we need. Today we met with Matt Fuller, who's the president of economic development for Warren County, along with Jim Siplon, and we tried to, you know, sort out what responsibilities are going to be. We mainly are going to be handling the community development through Jim Thatcher, as Judy talked about, from CT Mail, along with Judy Square. And Jim is also, we're going to try to see if he will be our the CEO of our LDC and our IDA, because it's mainly the only thing that really does is the administration part of it. And there's a lot of reports, you know, we've talked about PAAA, talked about authorities budget office, and these are all things that public authorities have to put reports on, and none of us really have that capability, so we've asked him to take that over. So hopefully that'll happen here in the next 30 days, and that'll take a lot off of everybody's plate, to be honest with you. So, and Ed had always tried to throw, I should use the word throw, try to run things through the LDC, because he could do that easily, because first off, he was a lawyer, and he also, you know, had all the hats, and so it was easy for him. It's not quite as easy for us now, and we're trying to figure all that out, but Jim Thatcher could be a key to that. So, it's gonna take us a little while to get our feet under us and make sure that we haven't missed anything, but I think this work group will be able to do that, so, I'll report back to you as we move on.
And so where, can you tell us a little more about Jim Thatcher? Where's he?
Jim Thatcher works for CT Mail,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
Jim Thatcher, Ed had charged him to take over the, community development, because Ed, you know, had a lot of different things going on. And Jim, had a working relationship. He's worked with Pat for years, he's worked with Judy for years. He's a local, I think he actually lives in Queensbury. He used to work, I think at one time, I'm not sure if he was with Shelter Planning, but he was.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, so he's worked with a couple of different organizations that have always helped us, so.
Great.
So, he's good. He knows what to do, and that's what we need right now.
Yeah, they'll do a good job.
So, another thing I wanted to briefly mention to you is, we had pretty good success, I think Jim will, agree with Haviland's Cove this year. Haviland's Cove was, we cut it down to Warren County residents only, we cut down the number of cars. There was less people obviously using the facility, but we didn't have any problems. And every year since I've been here on the council and, as the mayor, we've always had some kind of problems down there. But this year, I think we're putting a security guard down there and having the strong people, manning the gate and, the lifeguards. It worked out well. So we're probably gonna try to do something similar to that next year also. So we'll have to wait and see, what's going on. But it was a good learning experience for us down there.
Yeah, it was. A lot of people offer compliments about how
Yeah.
much nicer it was to go down there. And, so I think it was great, and I really appreciate your efforts, Mayor, to make it that way, so thank you.
Well, thank you. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is just something that Diane Palmer and I have been working on, and we're in the early stages of it. And I think we mentioned to you before, but it was the LEAD program that we've talked about. Obviously, police departments are big topics today, and one of the things that we are working on, along with Warren and Washington County Mental Health and different agencies, is to try to put this LEAD program on, get it on fast track and try to get it going. Using Diana's experience that she's had over the years with her profession, and I think, she's gonna help us immensely on that. And I was telling her earlier that over the weekend, I think it was 2 nights ago, I was sitting at home clicking on my clicker, and I stopped on MSNBC, and they had a show on, and the show was by a gentleman, and I think his name was Zimmer, and we talked about, he was a recovered alcoholic and addict, and he now is a famous chef, and he was talking about different foods and what's going on with food in this country. And one of the things he talked about was vertical farming. And he took him to the biggest vertical farm is in New Jersey. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And then the next story was a story about LEAD. So here I am sitting there clicking the 2 things that we're actually working on, were the topics that came up on the TV show. So it was really interesting. And I think these are both good projects for us to work on. So, but we'll continue to report to you as we move forward with that. So, with that, does anybody have anything else?
I think it's indicative of the leadership we have with you, Mayor, and, in this council on all the things that we've been working on and, where we are today, and we're under the situation we are. So kudos to you.
Well, thank you. I want to thank all you guys, because you've all taken a little piece of what has to be done, and you've helped us. Jane's coming to all the meetings. I always ask her to come to the meetings so she knows what's going on. Diane's taking leadership, and Jim goes to water and sewer, and you guys with your special projects, and Scott doing the you know, the recreation stuff and being involved with, and Billy with the sustainability committee. So it's a team effort. I think we're doing good. You know, obviously we get criticized for certain things, but you know, I think all government does at times. But I think we're doing a pretty good job. So with that, I'd like to have a motion to go in executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Enderberry,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Yes.
and Ms. Palmer.
Yes.
Okay. Sal, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I guess so.